Hello, my name's Niranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett.
Today is episode number 16, where we will be talking to Monia Marquis, who's a mom of 3 boys and 5 animals, and strives to live the healthiest, non-toxic, positive life possible. She was first exposed to spirituality as a young girl and not recognizing she's an earth angel. Monia loves sharing experiences and stories with others to inspire them to explore and find their inner angel. She believes there's spirituality within all of us. We just have to be open to unlock it. She's still on a journey every day, trusting and accepting the work she's done and all that is yet to come. Hello and welcome to Monia. Thank you so much for agreeing and being open and receptive to having this candid and casual conversation about what is it that inspired and took you on a journey of life and doing what you're doing. So would you like to share a little bit about that, what you feel you believe to be true about who you are?
Yes, I can share that a little bit. I have many stories, so I think we're gonna go into more than one podcast. Let's put it this way. So okay. I'll start the way I look at life now versus what I looked at my life before, and my purpose in this life now is something happened to my mother for her to have me in this life. I was supposed to be adopted, but she ended up keeping me and things like that. And you know how you grow up and you're always miserable. You always wonder, why am I here, and all that. So I grew up always wondering, why didn't she not put me up for adoption? Why am I here? What's my purpose in life and all that? And as I moved out of my house, went on my own, I start seeing myself, like I could see already my future. I could see me having kids. I could see all of these things, but it was so hard for me to accept all of that stuff. And I asked my grandmother one night, because my mom ended up passing away. And I said to my grandmother, I go, Grandma, why am I here? What is my purpose in life? Mm-hmm. And my grandmother said to me, you know your purpose, but one day you will accept your purpose in life. You will understand your purpose. So going back now again, another little story of when I was 4 years old, we lived, we had a river between New Brunswick and Maine. That river, we used to go play on it in the winter. Now I'm 4 years old, and the other 2 that were with me were 6 years old. So you'll understand where I'm going with this just by telling you this story. So this boy, we wanted some water. It was winter. So there was a hole in the middle of the river. And so he decided with the little pail that he had to go in the middle and step on it and bring water.
Right.
But when he stepped on it, he fell through. And the only thing that stopped him was his arms. Right. So me and the other lady that was with me, I remember this as if it was yesterday. We looked at each other and we were like, okay, let's go get our parents. But when I looked at the river again, I saw his eyes and I couldn't leave him there. I crawled all the way on my butt to the middle of the river and I took him out. How can a 4-year-old take somebody that's 6-year-old in a full winter gear, you know? So I always go back to that story that I had a purpose in life, and I saved him, And this man now is one of the biggest heart surgeon.
Is that right?
Yeah. And he's at Harvard, and has an amazing doctor. And so I saved one life, but look how many lives he's saving. And his mother wrote to me when about 3-4 years ago, and he wrote to me to thank me for saving his life. But so all these little things all my life, always little things like that would happen, but I would never understand that. And now that I'm an adult, I always try to push those feelings away.
Right.
Always. I never understood them. And I just started to accept this journey, this life, my purpose about 5 years ago. That's when I accept. I don't know if I should call it a gift, or I don't know. But it's those feelings, when I have them, I don't keep them inside anymore. I actually share it with, if that person came into the way I felt,
yes,
or feel, or I will express myself now. I don't keep anything in anymore.
right.
It's and now I understand what my grandmother was saying, but I didn't understand it before. I would get those feelings, and I would sort of get like, not upset, but like I was like, I couldn't understand what was happening. So not just that one life that I saved, but many more lives like that,
right,
throughout my life, or whatever happened to me.
that was your first experience and memory of having such a profound impact and doing something that is potentially through a force, or comes through from a greater force that you have no idea where that came from. Because logically, like you said, or a 4-year-old pulling out a 6-year-old boy in the middle of a frozen pond lake in Wintergate, how is that even fathomable? How is that even possible? It's blowing my mind, really, in terms of how you did that. So
yeah, even to this day. And the thing is, I thought I dreamt that for the longest time. And I knew it happened, but you have a hard time. Like, I didn't do that. That's impossible.
right.
But when his mom wrote to me, maybe it is 5 years ago. Yeah, around that. And that's when I was like, wow, I seriously did that. Like, it's like I woke up.
Right.
It's like, wow. And then when he wrote to me, it was even more like, oh my God. And then I started thinking, oh my God, look how many lives he saved.
Yes.
So
powerful.
it's just, the thing is, I think people that have those feelings, is that we need to recognize them,
Yes,
accept them, and just go with it. And I think that's when we met, that's what I was trying to to say, and to like, when my mom passed away, I was 26 years old.
okay.
And I saw her passing before she passed. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yes.
I picked up something, and that the thing that I picked up, I looked at my mom, and I'm like, I have to put this back, because no matter what, this is mine next year. And I was like, oh no, what am I saying? But throughout that whole year, once in a while, that thing that I said into my head kept coming. And really, the next year, she had passed.
She passed. Wow.
Yeah. So it's just,
I feel like it's a lot about acceptance and nurturing. So the fact that you were able to have, I guess even as a 4-year-old or as a child, have that conversation with your grandmother and go, why am I even here? What is this? For, I think, anybody to have such a profound question, and especially at such a young age, is a huge identifier that there is a greater gift and there is a greater purpose for you to be here. And while, of course, life takes its course, and we unravel it in ways that we feel is right, but ultimately it's that deeper quest, that deeper yearning, that deeper something that's nudging you to listen to that thought, because I'm sure that thought you had about your mother during her passing obviously is not your thought. It's a thought from the other side or another aspect of your soul self connecting and delivering that message to you. So having the understanding of that and having a nurturing environment that'll allow us to say, okay, I'm not crazy, and that is real, and I do really feel this. I think that is what I truly feel is missing. But with the world of change that we're in, I think it's forcing us all to change and look at that, because that's
And
all
I think
we have.
I think it's forcing us a little bit more to be open.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people that it is the third eye. It's so calcified.
Yeah.
That they're not willing to open that.
Yes.
So for me, I try to make sure that my whole family, their third eye is decalcified.
Right.
So things like that, because I have one son, my last son. He actually, when he was 4 years old, he came to me in my room and he woke me up and he said, "Mom, do you know why I was born?" And it's so early in the morning, you're like, and I said, "Yeah, because we wanted you." He goes, "No, Mom." He goes, "I was actually born to protect you."
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, he told me that at that time. And then as he grew up,
Mm-hmm.
I could see his purpose in life.
Right.
And he is so open.
Yeah.
And he even knows that. And it scares him.
Mm.
He said to me 5 years ago, yeah, 5 years ago, he said he was crying and he went for a good month. It was a month of September. He cried almost the whole month. And I'm like, "Why are you crying all the time?" He goes, "Mom," he goes, "this is my last life. I'm not coming back."
Mm-hmm.
So I have tears in my eyes every time that I think about that, because he knows that he's done what he's had to do.
Yes.
And now he came into his life to help me. And when I see things happening with my little guy Zachary, he came into my life for a purpose, and he's the one who actually made me open up to everything that I'm telling you today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was very closed off. I didn't want to accept it. It was like something weird, and but at the same time, I would listen to, I always called it a mother instinct.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I called it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one time that I did not listen to it. And after that, I promised myself that I would never do that again, that I would always listen
Mm-hmm.
to that sense that comes to me, because I knew that that was right, So from now for the last 5 years, I always do that now. And I think when I met you, that's when what I do now, I think this is my calling, my thing. And I think that's what opened me up even more.
Right.
It's quite, it's beautiful. That's what I should say. It's actually beautiful, those feelings that I have. And I can look at some people now sometimes and just say, you just need to open yourself up a little bit, and you'll see how much more beautiful it is, instead of living. First of all, too many people live in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I try to help people to say, don't live in that fear.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point
Mm-hmm.
to live in fear. Just open yourself up and just see everything else around. And it's hard for some people to do, and I was there. I was there for many years.
Yeah.
So if I can help somebody
Mm-hmm.
to change those feelings, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We need to live our best life.
Absolutely. There
You
is a
know?
greater purpose for each of us here, right?
Yeah.
And any little nudge or support, help, guidance, wisdom that can be shared along the way, I think offers an opportunity for somebody to go, I heard that again and again and again, just
Yeah.
like you did. I think for you as a mother, it might have been a little bit different because you didn't trust that instinct. And it only
Yeah.
took the one time, I'm assuming, for mothers to do that because you learn because it's your child, right? It's a different story. So I think it's those nudges and those lessons that become really profound. I also want to add to this interesting dialogue about how when we, just before we kind of started this call and checked all the technical equipment and pieces that go along with doing a podcast, how you felt an engagement or a presence or something related to your mother, which is very interesting and very ironic because I guess we're on this type of conversation. How people come into our lives for certain reasons, seasons, or lifetimes to give us that lesson. And it's also echoed within that presence of your mother, but also through your son and your grandmother and all that kind of piece. So do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I started talking with you, I have a cat that's about, she must be 17, 18 years old. And what happened with this little cat is I went to New Brunswick and my uncle had a barn and I could hear this little meow in distress.
Yes.
And I went to the barn and I ended up finding 5 cats. Like they literally fit in my hand.
Little kittens.
And little kittens.
Mm-hmm.
And their mother must have been killed.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I didn't find them, they would not have survived, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's in the 5 kitten, there was one, I don't know what it was. It was my calling to be with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if it was a her or if it was a he, I didn't know. I ended up grabbing all of them, and I left them in a barn, but I left them in an area that I could come and find them. So my kids would always say, Mom, how do you know this is the one? How do you know this is the one? It was just something between me and this cat that I just knew this was them because they all looked alike. It's not like one was gray, one was black. They were all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I ended up saving all these cats, but the one cat I brought back with me to Toronto.
Okay.
And I literally fed her with like droppings because she fit in my hand. I would just turn her around and feed her, But this cat grew up, and everything my mother hated, everything my mother loved, this cat is the same. We had to have a chair at the dinner table. She would sit with us. My mother's favorite meal was green beans and things like that.
Okay.
Every time I had a green bean, if she saw it on a plate, she would bring it over. And we were like, that's weird. So we started giving her some of the stuff, but some stuff she wouldn't like, but some stuff she would like. And my husband kept saying, but that's something your mother would eat. It was just weird. And she sat at the dinner table with us. Her 2 paws would touch the table. She wouldn't jump on the table, nothing, but she had her spot. Then all of a sudden, as she grows, my middle son could not sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
We had this little kitten that my son would bring to bed with him.
Mm-hmm.
And the cat would not leave the bed under the sheets with him until he was asleep.
Wow.
So that was another thing that she did. And then I got sick and I would lay on the bed. She would come and go right at the spot where I was not well and massage it.
Wow.
It was just so many things along the way. I have so many stories with that.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, me talking with you,
mm-hmm.
I never see her during the day. She sleeps all day, comes out for food at dinner. And there she was beside us meowing.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know,
she
so
was.
I was just like, what are you doing in here? I never see you.
Yeah.
Like I do Zoom calls, she never comes around. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just funny how now, you know, like she came again, you
Yes.
know, and it's so funny when even my last son, he will go through things. He picks the cat up. She will actually grab the two hands and put it at his neck
Around his
and
neck.
around his neck.
Yeah.
It is so funny
Yeah. As
how
to,
you could tell.
mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, and this is not just me saying it, but I've been with my husband since I'm 15 years old. So
Mm.
he's known my mom, and you know, so he said, your mother always said, because my mother was allergic to cats.
Oh,
And
wow.
I love cats. Like they're
Mm.
my life. I just love them.
Right.
And my mom always said, you know what? I'm going to come back as a cat because you treat the cat so well compared to what I would treat her, right? So, but the cat wasn't allowed to live inside the house, would live outside the house. But oh my God, I treated that cat like royalty, right? So my mom always said, I'm going to come back as a cat because you'll treat me right, you know?
Wow.
And the funny
Wow.
thing is, we've had this cat now for 18 years.
Wow.
She lives with us. And even if me and my husband just say things at each other, she
Mm-hmm.
will go and jump on my husband. And I'm like, she really is my mother, because my mother always took your side over mine.
Right. Wow. So powerful. So powerful
Yeah.
how we all comes into play. And I say it's powerful for us to realize it because our mental space, we don't think it's fathomable because we use our visual as so as a normal, right? We don't
Yes.
necessarily think there is another energy or there is a feeling or a different sensation that is a type of energy or a frequency or a vibration that emanates a different entity of some sort. Because we
Yes.
become somewhat so materialistic. If we can't see it and we can't touch it, we don't believe it.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting and a very a very cute story actually about your cat and your
Yeah.
mom and your mom, I guess.
It's, you know what, for us, like whatever, for me is like her name is Chloe, but I'll say, okay, mom, enough now. Like,
Okay.
you know, I will also say that. You know, so it's like, and the funny thing is we actually love it because it feels like, it does feel like she's here with us. She's
Yeah,
here with my kids, because my
yeah.
kids never got to know their grandmother. But the stuff that she does, even my kids, it's like, mom, she's not normal. And we all, the joke is, well, she's not a cat. Because we have other two cats and they don't
Right,
do that. But this
right,
one does. So
right.
it's there's a huge difference between my other two cats and this cat.
So interesting. See, they all have their own personalities to a whole different
Yeah,
level. Yeah, and
yeah,
a greater
they do.
purpose, a very much a greater purpose. So what do you believe is your calling? So I recognize you said it's about supporting others and guiding others on their path so they can listen to their messages and listen to that purpose of why they're here. How has that been reflective for you in your life, in who you are and how your life has unfolded, especially in the last 5 years or maybe even before that?
I think it's really is in the last 5 years. I worked at a job that, you know, you literally, you work, you pay your bills, you take care of your kids and things like that. And when I was a little girl, all I could remember doing, it didn't matter if it was sand, snow, it didn't matter what it was. I always made an angel.
Mm.
Always made angels on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Always, always, always. And I would always talk to the angels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would always say, I need the wings to fly, or things like that. So in the last 5 years, I quit one job. I went into another job. It was the same thing. And then the last job I had, I literally just got up and left. Like I just could not handle it anymore. And I went into this other passion of mine that I have. And I think I've met, you know, when you're somewhere, somebody passes by you, looks at you, go back to going their way, and then looks at you again, comes to you and say, whatever you're doing right now at this moment in this lifetime, this is your calling, this is your path. So I would come home and I would say that to my husband. And again, was not me really accepting again what my gift was.
Right.
So I just sat there one night and it's like I got a lightning come to me and then say, no, I need to share this. I need to help people.
Right.
This is what I'm doing right now. And what if for how long I do it or what, somebody will come my way that needs my help.
Right.
And every time like I want to quit, something pulls me back in that needs my help. So it's been very, very interesting. So it goes from like a 6-year-old to a 30-year-old to I'm always pulled back in, you know. And the last one that really made me say, this is my calling, this is where I need to be to help people, is this little 6-year-old boy who I went to their house. And the little boy sat there, and when I left after like a couple of hours, he goes, Mom, he goes, you know that blonde lady that was here? She is my angel. She is going to help me. We need to listen to her. And this little guy's journey has been different. And after that little boy, who's 6 years old, who is so in tune with himself and so in tune with his God. And I was just like, you know what? Stop putting a barrier to it, Monia, and open yourself and be there for who needs you.
Yes.
And I think that's why now I've decided, you know, and then even meeting you, there was that connection that I was like, I don't know you, but there was that connection.
Yes.
You know, so I've met quite a few people like that, and it's been an amazing journey. It's been like, it's just, yeah, no, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's a life path of whatever I'm called an angel to, you know, like I feel like I am an angel. Like I do feel that. I feel like people will ask me and I'm like, no, I think I was an angel put on this earth.
Yes.
Yeah. I really do believe that now.
Yeah.
You know, and even sometimes people look at me like, you know, but it's like, no, I really think I'm here for a purpose. And
That's
I think
right. It's to support and guide others through their journey and help alleviate some of the worldly challenges that we have. I think that's what it is. But I think it's really interesting how you shared how now you're willing to accept it, and now you're willing to own it and really be in that space of, there's something bigger here.
Yeah.
And claiming it almost, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Because I think before too is that I was afraid of what people would think of me.
Right.
Just another like quick story. About 2 years ago, I came back from Utah. It was a Sunday night. My husband said, you want to go for a walk? I'm like, sure, it's just going to help me with the jet lag and, you know, whatever. And when we came around the corner to come back to our house, I'm usually always a little bit in front of my husband or we're together. This time I was quite far back and my two legs wouldn't work. I could not move forward. I could not walk. And the next day I came home and I thought, oh my God, that plane ride really affected my legs.
Right.
And the next day we found out that our best friends had a motorcycle accident and he's paralyzed from the waist down. And it had happened at the same time as we went for a walk.
Right. Wow.
You know, so I was like, wow, there again. And then like a couple of months before, we were talking about motorcycle and accidents
Right.
and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like all these little things, these feelings that I have, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, just before this journey of what's happening now in this
Mm-hmm.
lifetime happened, I said, we were in the truck with my husband, and I was like, whew, something is on me, something is on my shoulders, something big is happening. I
Mm-hmm.
just said it like that, and boom, this happens. Now for the last 3 months we had it,
This whole
like, so
virus.
it's yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so it's just like all these feelings, but I don't know what they are, but
Yeah.
I had this intense feeling of something's happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So it's not, now I am in tune. I just,
Good. Good.
you know, and just
Yeah.
like even with my children, sometimes I'll say to my kids, please don't take that route, take that route,
Right.
you know. And a couple of times they did not listen to me,
Yeah.
and something happened,
Yeah.
you know. And now if I have this feeling and I tell them, now they listen to me,
Mm-hmm. And it's
you know.
trusting that, right? It's developing it just as you had growing up, I guess, asking such a profound question at such a young age to your grandmother, having that. But yes, of course, life took over and we learn a whole bunch of harder lessons in between until we get it
Yeah.
really firm to say, no, I need to stop. I need to listen to that other message, that other little voice happening. It's not negative talk or anything that way.
No.
It's serving me for my highest good. So
Yeah.
I often say it's just being still. We live in a world where there's so much happening all the time. All our senses are on full force. So to be
Yeah.
able to tap into a space where it's much quieter, so you can hear that message rather than have to feel it in a
Yeah.
physical form. So if we can
Yeah.
quiet and still and hear it, I think that's where the real magic begins,
Yeah.
to
We
connect.
all have, we all have it,
Absolutely.
but we don't, you know.
Yeah.
And I lived like that for many, many years.
Yeah.
You know, it was not until I was more into my late 30s,
Mm-hmm.
it started more around like 32,
Right.
that it's when I was like, and I always say to people, there's a time for
Mm-hmm.
things to happen. So
Absolutely.
sometimes you want something so bad, but it's not the time for it to happen,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So and my grandmother, that's how she was too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she, a lot of times when we would have those moments, like my grandmother, 2 months before my mom passed,
Mm-hmm.
she actually had a bubble that came to her in
Mm-hmm.
her dream. She calls it a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And she said it actually woke her up. And it was my grandfather that came to her and said, I am lonely up here. I need you to come and be with me.
Mm.
And my grandma said, I cannot come and be with you right now because her last daughter really needed help. She
Right.
goes, I need to be here for her.
Yes.
And my grandfather said, well, if you're not willing to come, I'm coming to get somebody I love.
Mm.
And it was my mother that came into her
Right.
bubble.
Right.
And my mother just started being sick at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then she passed at
Mm-hmm.
New Year's that year. So my grandmother also came to me. She's like, I didn't know who to talk to about this, but she's like, I know you're the person
Mm-hmm.
to talk to about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so my grandmother was open, just like I was open.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's the time when my grandmother told me that I got to be more open, I should say.
Right. Yes. Yes.
You know, so it's, and still I, you know, like, not believing it 100%, but I was like, wow, if my grandmother had those feelings, I do get those feelings.
Absolutely. Yeah. It helps
For
to
sure.
hear somebody else say it to validate it. And especially if it's somebody, a loved one that you trust, and you can see that they have an interest in you that's going to support you for your highest and greatest good. that's not going to have any conditions on it for them.
Yeah.
Because often we see people feel like they have good intentions and interest for other people, but it's to their own advantage.
Yeah.
Like conditional love. I will love you
Yeah.
if you do this.
Yes.
Rather than having unconditional love, I will love you regardless of what you are doing with your
what.
life. So I think that, and when you coupled with family and friends and mentors and other people that are around you, that are there to teach us our lessons and journeys, I think that's pretty powerful to be able to distinguish those things. So
Yeah.
good for you for doing that.
And I think back when I was little to what I see now, I think we are a little bit more open to that now compared
Absolutely.
to when I was younger. People would look at you like you're, because I've said that to people that I've seen my mom pass before she passed, and they just look at me like, sure, So when you get those people, you tend to just not talk about it. You just tend to not say anything, So my husband always, because he's been with me for so long, and I sort of say things to him, just saying things, and then it would happen. He would say, you just mentioned that.
Yeah.
I go, I did? And then he's like, yeah, you just mentioned that, and this happened, And it's like one time too, we were driving, and for some reason I said something and he didn't move right away. Well, that 10 seconds of him not moving, a car would have hit me right on the side. Like it would have, so, and then he just looked at me, and then we looked at each other, was like, wow, this was your mother making us,
Right.
But it just put something in me for me to say something for him not to move,
Yes.
So all these little things, after these little things happen, he is also, if I have certain feelings, he will back off, he will not do it, or so I'm glad that I have a husband that understands those things that I have, because not too many times that it's not happened.
Absolutely. And the fact that you can have that dialogue, or let me say that your son can have that conversation with you, because as the world is evolving, as we are all changing, we see more and more, I want to say, younger children, adolescents, teens, millennials, who have a greater gift, but they don't know what it looks and feels like, because we are in such an environment that's conditioned for us to not connect with it. So the fact that he's born in your household, for you to have that awareness and to be able to nurture that gift in him, that is a gift in itself.
Yes.
That is a gift in itself, of creating that safe space, just as your grandmother created that safe space for you.
Not realizing it, and even you're saying it now, it's like it's bringing tears to my eyes, because it's like, wow, like I always thought she was a special lady. Her eyes to me were always like very special. Every time I looked at her, she had something.
Yes.
So, and everybody now that looks at my last son, they all say to me, oh, he's connected.
Yes.
Oh, he's so connected. He so knows, and things like that. So it's really funny how the journey of me, I was not supposed to have more kids, and I ended up having him 12 years after I had my other kids.
Okay.
So it's just, so it's not like he was like, I had two kids like almost back to back, and then he came along 12 years later.
Right.
So it's just funny how
everything happens for a reason.
Works. Yes.
Right? Like we said, we will become awake, we will become aware when the time is right. For your grandma to have that really heartfelt, courageous conversation with you about your mother is powerful in itself. That had to come at that time. She couldn't have had it 5 years ago, or maybe a year ago. It had to happen at that time. And I'm also a true believer that whatever situation or circumstances that comes to us, it comes when we're ready. On a mental space, we think we're not ready when we don't have capacity to observe it and look at it, but it's all there. It's just, it's different. That's all.
Yeah.
It's just
And
different.
I so love the journey that I'm on now too. Like it's actually very peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's once you understand it
Yeah.
and you don't really care what other people think,
Yeah.
it's like you're such at peace,
Absolutely.
you know. And when somebody, sometimes they'll say, oh, you're such an amazing angel,
Yes.
it just brings so much joy to my heart.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't say this often because it's, you know, not everybody's awake to it,
Mm-hmm.
but I love my life. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really do. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love the people that are in it, you know? So it's like, I love that I met you. Like it's
Yeah.
just, I just, I just love
Yeah.
that. Like I love the people along I call it my new journey. That's what I
Yes.
call it
Beautiful.
in the last like 5 years. Like I
Yeah.
call it my new journey,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. You
I
know?
think it gave you a much more deeper connection to your own purpose. And when you have that deeper connection, it gives you more fulfillment.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel that's what it is. So, what do you think are some of the attributes that you carry in this new wave of Monia, of how you're living life? What is it about you that you now carry forward, be it through your intentions of what you're doing and what you're sharing? How has that changed you?
I don't think it's really changed me.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't think it has. I think it's always I'm the same person that I was. It's just now it's more like I'm more free to speak, I should say.
Okay.
So it's not that it really changed me, because if you would have met me 20 years ago, you would have felt that amazing energy,
Mm-hmm.
but I would never add continued it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It would have stopped there.
Right.
Now I'm willing to share it, to talk about it, so that part is changed. But
Yes.
the rest of me, helping people, being there for people, that's always been me.
Yes.
Nurturing people. I
Sure.
would do things without really saying anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or I would just do little things without them knowing that they're doing the
That you.
things that's what I wanted them to do to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Now I will just say things. Now
Right.
I don't hide anything. I just say it like it is. And I think most of my friends now,
Yeah.
they know I have this gift and things like that. Because when my girlfriend had the accident and I went to the hospital, she just, I don't know if she will remember this, but she looked at me, she goes, you knew.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she said. I never brought it back to her, but it was just,
Yeah.
you know, so now even my friends are seeing, you
Yeah.
know, that's, so I don't think I've changed that much. I just think I've accepted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think now I'm not afraid to really help that person
Yeah.
if I'm, you know, before I would just back out,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, back off, or, but now I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like now I don't. Like I will continue it until
So,
they like enough or whatever. Like I
right.
have that feeling that, you know,
Yes.
but until then I will just continue. You know
A,
what I mean?
a little pushback, so to speak, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
we know that ultimately we come here as spiritual beings in human form, right? And
Yeah.
we come with a certain energy, a certain purpose. And some of the times we don't recognize what that purpose is, but the underlying core of who you are is still there. Like you said, it's like that facade that's there, but because you didn't accept that element of you, it's harder to connect with people on that way. How do you feel you now connect with people, other than you saying it out overtly and there's no, I want to say, filter, because you say it very transparently? What else have you claimed and owned that makes Monia Monia now, the angel?
I think this is what it is. I think I've met more people like me. That's the way I think I should say it. So then it's in my journey, I think you know what I ask too is that I always ask, if that person should not be in my life, please remove that person from my life. And before it's like I would have these people hanging.
Right.
I don't have those hanging anymore.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know if that's what's answering sort of like the question you're asking me. I talk and I say, please, if that person doesn't belong in my life, please remove them.
Right.
And a lot of time these people are removed.
Yes.
Without me doing or saying or doing anything. It's like I call on to the people that are more into like me.
Right. It is that law of like attracts like.
Yes. And I think before, like, I don't know if some people believe in the evil eye or whatever it is, but many, many years ago, I had this feeling that I had something. And I went to see this little Italian lady that didn't speak any English. And she actually said to me that I needed to talk to, and that's after I talked to her, I think that's when I understood more that if I did not want them, they needed to go. So, and then a couple of years ago, I learned that if you reach your arm out to the end, you extend your hand, and you just imagine like a rose, or you imagine something.
Right.
It could be like a blue rose or whatever it is. And you just say, the energy that does not belong to me, please go in the rose.
Right.
And I thought that was such a great analogy, because we go out every day and we absorb other people's energy.
Yes.
And a lot of time we come home and we're just like, why am I feeling like this? Like, why am I,
Yes.
So now I've got like, wherever energy that came with me here, you better go back. Because you do not belong to me.
That's right.
That's so right. This is what I do now, don't come in my space, like don't, and things like that. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think I've changed. I just think I've just more acceptance, more, because I love people just the way I loved them before. I will help whoever it is. And now if the energy doesn't belong to me, please go.
Right.
Things like that.
Right.
And that I try to teach people now that are feeling like that. I use the rose, like I just said, because I learned that from a lady 2 years ago.
Right.
And I think for me, it was my wings. Don't come in my wings.
I see. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So that's me. Yes. But that's not something I share with anybody, but don't come into my wings. Stay out of my wings. That's my space. But for people, I will say, just put a rose at the end of your arm, because that's the way this lady taught us. And I thought that was a great for people to understand. I understand my space. I understand my wings, but I don't know if other people would understand that.
But we don't know. Information is only presented to those when they're ready. We've talked about this already.
Yes.
So the fact that you're questioning, I don't know if they're going to understand it, is your own self-doubt and your own mental consciousness coming in going, but that thought that you had in itself, that I got to share this, it's up to them how they're going to receive it.
Yeah, that's why we have to try to talk to people in a language that they would understand.
Which is why you use the rose analogy.
Yes. Yeah, because it's like, for me, I understand but it's for somebody else to understand something that will work for them. And I always say to people, it doesn't matter what you put at the end of your arm, but literally the length of your arm is your space.
Yes.
And that's what I say to them. So this is your space. So make sure nobody comes into that space.
Right.
And then put something at the end, and that's doesn't matter what it is. It could be a candy. It could be whatever it is. Whatever. And make it explode, so then it's all disintegrate and then it's done,
Yeah, you just transform the energy, right?
Yeah.
You transform the energy around it. So I often think, going through my own journey, and by the sounds of it, going through yours as well, it's a new language we have to learn. it's a new dialogue of not only recognizing what the esoteric and the spiritual world and that world is telling us, but how it relates to us in our own life when we connect with our own soul. So having that dialogue of using words like, he looks different, the difference in his eyes, or that intimate conversation with your grandmother and your grandfather and your mom passing, having that dialogue and creating that safe space to be open to share it, because you never know who it's going to impact and how it's going to impact their life. It might just hit them at that one moment when they need it the most. And I think that's the caveat, that's the key, to be open, receptive, and accepting of that new dialogue. I think it's so powerful.
It's sometimes I meet people and sometimes my husband is with me and he's like, what just happened? I'm like, Mario, I don't know. This lady came to me and something inside told me that she didn't need me to talk.
Yeah.
This lady needed a hug.
Yes.
And these are stories that for me, it's normal.
Yes.
For me, I do this all the time.
Yes.
And for my husband, he was just like, what just happened? I'm like, and then when he tells people the story, he'll say, this woman passed by.
Yes.
And then she passed by again.
Yes.
And then she passed by again. And then she passed by again. You gave her a hug. And it's like she vanished in thin air.
Yes.
That's the way he explains it.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know why I needed to hug her. Something told me that that's what she needed.
Right.
And the lady had tears in her eyes, didn't tell me anything, and she left.
It's fine-tuning it, Monia. I really truly believe it's fine-tuning it. It's sitting in that quiet space. It's sitting in that stillness and sitting with yourself, because our outside world can distract us from so much, and it can hinder our greater purpose of what we're here. And I think it's magical. It's amazing what you do in terms of supporting people through the essential oils that you share and the business that you have created in the essential oils, but also recognizing the energy that they are emitting in themselves is very powerful. Because we know the power behind color. We know the power behind sound. We know the power behind scent.
Smells.
And the fact that a lot of I think all of the essential oils are all plant-based anyways. So you bring that extra air and that extra element of the earth element. And how we all ultimately heal through the earth. Through the law of nature.
It's literally since I started doing that it's opened me up. It's in, I always, the day that I go and I do things, I just choose the oil and it's whatever for that day. Like another example, the last time I did one, I put on this oil. This lady that she just passed by and she came back to me, just started crying like that with me. And I was just like, what's happening? And she said like she can't live without her dog. So her dog had passed like 4 or 5 months before. So the scent that I had on that day, that's the scent she needed. So there's so many things like that with this journey, like I said, in the last 5 years, and I got into this journey because of my last son. So these were bought for him, not knowing that it would heal me, not knowing that it would open me up like it did, and my favorite oil is white angelica, and white angelica is actually an angel oil. So it's like all like these things that like made me change, made me open up, and talking with people, and just it's Mother Earth, like you said. It's healing people through our earth. Like, sometimes I say to people, I go, just go outside, put your feet in the grass. I went to Utah with my friend last year. There was this big, beautiful tree. And I said, you know what? Let's go. Look, I have goosebumps just telling you this.
Right.
I said, let's go just touch it, take our shoes off, and just let it feel like we are the roots of this tree. Let it just go.
Right.
So we did that. And don't we walk a little bit further after?
Yeah.
And there was a little creek, and the water was flowing the same way we were walking. And I said, you know what this means? And she's like looking at me. I said, that means let it go.
Yeah.
Let it all go. So it's not just, it's just everything about Mother Earth that is just so amazing.
It is.
And then, like, the third eye, we need to decalcify that. We need to open that up to the journey that, this journey that we're on, because I think we accept things better. We see things better.
It's being able to connect with something greater and have that language and learn that language all over again, because we knew it one day before. So it's remembering that, reactivating all of that wisdom that is available. It's just there. Like you said, you stretch your arm out, it's right there for the taking. It's whether you want to take it or not, whether you're courageous enough to take it, whether you have the strength and the courage to be able to embrace that, and all that comes with, from the people looking at you going, I don't know what she's talking about. She's a bit weird, or whatever side remarks that happen. Because that in itself is a courageous journey.
And
absolutely.
And it's to accept that even if people say that about you, it's okay.
Absolutely.
This is your journey. It's not theirs.
But that's a journey in itself to get to that space of acceptance, right? Like, I mean, you shared even earlier that you was in a space going on, what people going to think? I can't do that. So you would filter yourself, and now there is no filter, which is beautiful and amazing to see. Even from when did I meet you? Last year, the year before?
I think it. I think it was last year. Last November.
Last year. So seeing you now, I see a difference in you.
It's more because when you're in public like that, you don't know what people think. No. So I will say things, and people they will just look at me as like, and it's from that moment on then I go in more into it, or I just don't say more. Because you don't know when you're in public what people.
That's right.
Are gonna, Yes, I would say more this year. I'm way more open. Because I think now it's just, you know what, you believe me or you don't, it doesn't change my life. So I think this year I've been more into, one of those. And before I was a little bit more scared. No, it's the wrong word. It was not scared. It's not scared, the word. I don't even know. I didn't want to make people make fun of me, maybe. Something like that, maybe. But it's just...
You didn't want other people to judge you.
Judge, that's it. That's the word. Judge.
You didn't want other people to judge you.
Because I've always, all my life, I've always done what I had to do. But, like, I would just step back, because, but I've never changed the way of helping people. I'm a very nurturing person.
Absolutely.
Very, very nurturing.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's, no matter what, that I accepted my gift or not, whenever I had that feeling, I would help the person, or I would like do things. I just wouldn't say anything.
So you've evolved, and you've shared many stories from 6-year-olds to last year or last week.
Yeah.
What's next? What does the next portion of Monia look like?
I don't know. I just want to continue what I'm doing. I just want to empower more people to just be who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, and that's even including my own children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to just open yourself up, like just be who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my kids to grow up and I say this to especially my last son all the time. You know, you have a gift. Use your gift. Don't be afraid of your gift. Use it. So for me moving forward, if I see anybody like that little boy that's 6 years old, he has such a beautiful gift.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, I want to be in this little boy's life forever. Like I want to see how he, you know what I mean? So that this is me moving forward.
Nice.
You know, we don't know where we're going. We don't know anything like that, but I am so happy in this life now. I know all this stuff that's happening now and things like that, but people are awakened, and some people are awakening, you know? So I think this, I don't know. I'm just very happy where I'm at, and just want to continue doing what I'm doing and sharing and helping and, you know, and wherever this journey, who knows in 6 months from now what it will be.
That's right.
But I know so far, like it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. A powerful one for you, but also for all the other folks that are in your reach, are in your vicinity, because your guidance, your wisdom, your knowing, your sharing, your nurturing elements that you bring is more powerful than you think.
I'm still on the journey of learning myself.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like every day it's something comes through my head, and you know, and I'm like, oh, beautiful. You know, like things like that, you know. And sometimes like I'll think of something, I'll be sitting there and I'll have a whiff of a smell of lilac, that was my mother's favorite flower. And I'm like, oh, Mom, you agree too, eh? Like I'll be like that. And then sometimes like I'm outside and all of a sudden, again, things comes in my head, and then a white butterfly passes by. So the white butterfly is the significance of my grandmother, you know. And then I'll be in my house doing something else, and again I'm thinking of something. I just cleaned that area, and there'll be a 10 cents on the counter.
Yes.
And I'm like, that was in there.
Yes.
You know, like things like that. And then the day that happened, the 10 cents, I go in my son's room and I clean this washroom, and then I went back, I picked up some clothes. I picked up the clothes and there was 10 cents under the clothes. So I was like, okay, I get it now, you know? So like all these little things, and now I laugh at it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, you know? So it's just like I still have some growing to do, some learning to do, and things like that. And
but
you
we
know,
all
I
do,
love,
right? Forever going to be growing and evolving, and in this planet and this lifetime. I say to people, we think we've grown, and you think you've accomplished something. That's wonderful, but now you know the goalpost has just shifted further, and now you have a new goal, and now you have something else to inspire to move forward to. And I think that's where the real magic begins, is not being in a space of I know everything.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Because
no,
one moment we can be a student, and the next moment we can be a teacher. So
exactly,
it changes every single time.
Yeah. And I mean, we all have like new things to learn, and I just absolutely love learning. I love listening to people's story. I love listening to people's journey, because we all have a different journey.
Absolutely.
You know, so for me, my, you know, if I look back and, you know, my mom brought me into this world, but the way she brought me is because something happened to her not nice, and that's how I was born. And I was supposed to be adopted, because back in those days, you didn't have a child if you were not married,
Right.
and things like that, right?
Right.
So I look back and it's just like, you know what, there's a reason
Absolutely.
that I'm here. And instead of me like growing up as a teenager not accepting, like I always said, I wish I wasn't here, I wish I wasn't here, but in the meantime I would talk to my angels, like I was like I don't know what that's called in English, like, you know, like a balance.
Yeah.
That's it. So I had all these feelings all the time, and it's not until I actually moved out of my house that I understood a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because now I was in my own self, you know, and then having children, and then you have more and more of those.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like I was even more awake when I got my
Yes.
children, but I always said it was my mother intuition.
Right.
It was my mother intuition.
Yes.
But at the same time, it had nothing to do with being a mother. What happened? You know what I mean? But I always called it a mother's intuition, right?
Yeah. But it's
so it's just eventually you're like, wow, like, yes. Yeah. And this is the thing now, me talking to people, because you just don't know people, I say, always follow that mother intuition.
Okay, there you go. See? There you go.
Because that's how, for me, that's how it changed me. Eventually me accept my gift.
Absolutely.
Right? So I always say that to people, especially if they have kids, I will say,
sure,
always listen to that mother intuition.
And it's again, you're using the language. You're using a different language so they can understand. And that's the caveat right there. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So that's my little story.
I love your stories. I think they're really quite magical, actually. How life has transitioned and changed all of us from 1 cents at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
From 1 cents at a time. So Monia, I really want to say thank you so much for taking the time for this conversation and sharing all your wisdom, your love, and your guidance, so others can really tap into a space and observe and recognize and learn a new language for themselves, that there is a greater reason and there is a greater purpose of why they are here. So I'm truly grateful, Monia. Thank you so much for sharing.
No, thank you. And thank you for coming into my life. It was really nice meeting you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.